Welcome back to the Music Industry Podcast. Today we're joined by Hale, also known as just Hale, Beyonce apparently, the A&R manager at SoundCloud. Hi, how's it going?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you, good. So I feel like the main thing people that are going to be very confused about is there's an A&R at SoundCloud. Like I feel like all of us just know it's a streaming platform, just like Spotify, Deezer. So what does an A&R do at SoundCloud?
I guess just the same as what all the other A&Rs do.
Yeah.
Not so much at majors, but indies, distributors,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I think how it started and why there are now A&Rs at SoundCloud is because people, like artists like Billie Eilish, Post Malone, were coming to the SoundCloud, putting their music on SoundCloud first, and then being taken away by like major labels, being kind of like swept up into these deals and leaving SoundCloud behind, and SoundCloud weren't really gaining anything from that, even though they were kind of the platform that were breaking these big artists. And so SoundCloud were like, okay, well, maybe we should stop that. And they had this period, I think it was like 2017, where they like nearly went bust because they were losing all revenue from these artists disappearing. And they were like, okay, let's change this. So they acquired a distributor called Repost. And integrated that into SoundCloud. It's still very much there, but it's rebranded to SoundCloud for Artists. And they were kind of finding these artists that were releasing on SoundCloud, helping them develop a little bit, and then distributing to wider platforms. And so when I joined, that was the team that I was on. I was A&Ring for Repost, and that was just kind of finding artists and getting them to do distro deals basically with SoundCloud.
So SoundCloud's taking a % of their revenue essentially.
Yeah, just like a standard distribution platform. And so there was kind of like 3 tiers of how that was. So the self-serve distro, which is still there, anyone who has a Nextpro account on SoundCloud can access that. And then middle tier, which is was Repost, and that was when they take a little bit of a higher percentage, and we could do like marketing, same like recoupable marketing advances, and you get a little bit more involved with the SoundCloud ecosystem, they like to call it. And then a higher tier, which is called roster, and that's like licensing deals. So it's artist friendly splits, and you get like artist label services. And then so that was 2017, and worked on that I didn't join then, but that was when it started. That kind of operated for 4 or 5 years, mainly in the US, to be fair. It's only been a thing in the UK and Europe since like last year. So I was brought on as the expansion to UK and Europe. And then when I joined, my director now, he was pitching roster to the UK. And so that's what the team is now that I'm working on. So we've removed the middle tier, so we're not doing distro deals anymore. It's just roster, which is licensing deals, and then self-serve distro.
Okay. So it's in itself kind of like a label, like you doing label services in that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't call it a label, but the services that we offer are very similar to like an indie label. Of the
Still
same
class
services.
yourself as a streaming platform in a sense where the audience is there listening to music, or is it more so for the artist these days?
Yeah, more so for the artist, I would say. I think that the kind of streaming side of it is always going to be there. But I think SoundCloud's focus is to, well, how I see it anyway, one of the big focuses is to offer more services to artists. And so SoundCloud don't class themselves as a DSP. They would say that they're more of like a social platform, because it's the only platform that you can listen to music and really kind of like engage with fans. From an artist perspective, you can really engage with fans, so you can comment and like and DM and do all these different things that you can't do on Spotify and other streaming platforms. So yeah, they would say that they're more of a social platform than streaming, like a DSP.
Could you take us through an artist's journey of working with SoundCloud? Because obviously you go to a regular distributor and then you're on Spotify and iTunes, etc. With SoundCloud is a little bit different. You upload and then your music's live, and then distributed that way, or what happens?
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of like freedom with releasing on SoundCloud, a lot of freedom that you don't get if you were to go through a distributor and to go straight to Spotify. You can post demos and SoundCloud exclusives on SoundCloud before they go anywhere else. So it's a very quick turnaround. You can put something up on SoundCloud and it can be live like within half an hour. And then there's like if you switch on monetization, there's a lot of editorial support you can get on platform as well. And then if you were to use SoundCloud for Artist Distributor, it's the same as any of the other distributor really. Works the same. There's pitching tools and stuff that you can do in there.
Do you get a lot of data from the community then? Because if you've got Spotify, for instance, and you upload a track and it's got like 100 streams, you're not really going to get any kind of feedback at all on whether this artist is doing well. Does SoundCloud now, because I know that SoundCloud, like you get comments and you can comment on a particular part of a track, for instance, and you've got the, like you say, that engaged community. Is there a lot going on in the background in terms of helping you as an A&R know how people are reacting to the track?
Yeah, so I mean, SoundCloud, there's a lot of data on SoundCloud in terms of like anyone can access that, artists can access that from their fans and seeing where very specifically, obviously, you know, like Spotify for Artists gives you the data in terms of like what countries, what areas are streaming your music the most, but you can really get down into the nitty gritty of like who your top 10 fans are. And you can contact them directly and reward them. You can send them exclusives, like you can put a 24-hour private link up and send it to your top fans. So that's kind of like a very nice way of like keeping your fans engaged and rewarding them and saying thanks for listening to my music. So from an A&R perspective, there's like a lot of what I do is in the data of like looking at what songs are growing on the platform and stuff like that. So there is extra data that I can see, but it's nothing more really than an artist can see on their own portal if you look for it in the right place.
You mentioned monetization.
Yeah.
How does that work on SoundCloud? Because obviously everyone knows the DSPs pay kind of a very small amount per stream. So you can have it on SoundCloud where you don't monetize, can't you? So
I don't actually think that that many people know about SoundCloud monetization.
I don't think I knew.
Yeah. So it's if you upload a track just to SoundCloud, you can just put a track up on SoundCloud. But if you have Next Pro, you can monetize that track. And if you monetize a track, then it goes beyond the paywall. So it can be included in, it can't be included in any editorial support if it's not monetized.
Okay.
And I don't know if you know anything about fan-powered royalties.
No. So
fan-powered royalties, SoundCloud actually won an award for that. I hope I explained this right, but if I'm an artist and I upload to SoundCloud and monetize my track, if I have an audience that is going to SoundCloud specifically to listen to my music, then the majority, their subscription fee will get split amongst the artists that they listen to, rather than it going into a big pool and then divided across all of the artists. I think so. If like Drake on Spotify is probably the highest streamed artist, so the majority of subscription fees will go to Drake. Whereas on SoundCloud, if you're going to SoundCloud and not listening to Drake, none of your subscription fee will go to Drake.
I see. Okay.
So it's a fairer way of being paid.
If you're not being paid per stream directly.
Yeah.
It depends kind of on like the fans that are coming to you.
Yeah, so we see like a lot of like SoundCloud grown artists that perform really, really well on SoundCloud that are making a lot more money than other platforms. Yeah. Because they're getting a lot of artists like come to SoundCloud and subscribe to SoundCloud purely to listen to their music. Yeah. So it's a little bit fairer in that you're not paying someone's.
How does an artist get to that point then where they're bringing people to SoundCloud? Because I mean, a lot of people go and push people to just stream the track in general. Yeah. Is it like you're seeing artists only post on SoundCloud and that's why they're bringing people there? Or is it more like certain genres? Like what is getting people to make their money and bring people to the platform?
I definitely think like genre plays a part in it. I think if you're making like pop music, it's probably not necessarily going to perform that well on SoundCloud. If you're making like techno, then there's a huge audience on the platform for techno or dance, electronic, drum and bass, like any kind of electronic dance music. tend to perform and hip hop best on SoundCloud. But we see a lot of, at the moment recently, like a lot of correlation between TikTok and SoundCloud.
Okay.
So if you're posting something on TikTok and it goes viral, the first place generally that people want to see it is SoundCloud. Obviously, again, depending on the genres. But we see that like if something goes viral on TikTok, then it generally goes viral on SoundCloud. So I think if artists are posting like snippets of unreleased music on TikTok and then posting like the same snippet on SoundCloud or the full demo on SoundCloud, then that's where the fans are going to go to listen to. But I think if, you know, like it's a little bit trickier to get your music on Spotify. So if you're posting something on TikTok and it's doing really well, it's going viral, then you can't necessarily react the same way on Spotify as you can on SoundCloud. SoundCloud gives you the space and the freedom to like be very reactive and to kind of get it up. See that there's, if you post like, I don't know, 5 snippets of different songs or whatever on TikTok and one does really, really well, you can then go straight to SoundCloud and upload it if you've got the full track, obviously. Even if you don't, you can post a 30-second snippet or whatever on SoundCloud and you can kind of get that very, very instant reaction, which you can't necessarily do. I see a lot of it, you know, like artists post something on TikTok and it goes viral and other platforms or whatever can't get it out quick enough. And then obviously you're at risk of losing that viral moment. So if you're kind of doing it on SoundCloud, then you can get that instant reaction and then it kind of continues the story. If it goes viral on TikTok or any other social platform, go to SoundCloud, it goes viral then. Then obviously you've got these 2 very strong platforms that you can use for pitching to other DSPs and saying, oh, look, there's a story here. It's gone viral on TikTok. It's done 100K in a week on SoundCloud or whatever. Pitch to Spotify and they kind of can't really ignore that.
Yeah. I guess it's also like a good platform to experiment as well because you can get feedback quite easily. So you can post like different versions of the tracks, different demos, and actually get a straight up response from your audience, unlike Spotify where everyone's a perfectionist and wants to have like the final master track there. Yeah. Because they're terrified of being judged.
Like, you know, if you post something on Spotify and it does relatively well, if you're a new artist and it does relatively well, without sending your artists back to a social platform like Instagram, you don't actually know what they think of it. Like, you know, they can stream it and you can be like, okay, people in London like this, but like, what do they actually think about it? What specifically did they like about it? And you can get that feedback. And, you know, your fans are like the most important people, right? They if you can get direct feedback from them on what specifically they liked about the song, you can take that feedback into the next music that you make and make changes or, I don't know, follow what they like. Obviously staying true to who you are as an artist, but you can get that feedback that you can't. It makes it a lot easier, I think.
Yeah.
Is there like a discovery mode for SoundCloud? Like how do artists get discovered by SoundCloud users?
Yeah, SoundCloud recently have done a lot of work on their like algorithm and their discovery mode and stuff. So there is a lot of like, so SoundCloud acquired an AI company called Museo, and that's kind of like rebuilt all of the algorithms on SoundCloud, and that really listens to what each listener is liking and what they're streaming the most, and then recommends other stuff that they think they'd like. So in terms of like a discovery tool, I imagine like, you know, SoundCloud and TikTok are the 2, I would say, best discovery platforms for new artists. There's algorithm-based playlists, recommended artists, like the same as, you know, Spotify would have.
One thing that like most producers that we speak to and hip hop artists say is like the collaboration aspect of it. Like they can find other artists to collaborate with. Can you like reach out directly to someone through SoundCloud?
Yeah.
So there's like a message.
Yeah, there's DMs.
Yeah, so I guess that's another area of it that most artists probably aren't taking advantage of.
Yeah, and it's only been in the last like 6 months that it's become available to message on iOS, which was pretty big for us because before I think it was only like desktop that you could message on. Now they've improved the app and stuff, and there's a lot of these changes that means that you can DM and send like audio files and whatever through DMs, which is great.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day it was like called SoundCloud rappers. Are they still a thing?
SoundCloud rap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so what's SoundCloud rapper? Guy sounds so
Like the guys that basically just put all of their music on SoundCloud.
but they
Yeah.
don't put it anywhere else.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
watched the Louis Theroux documentary. Did you watch it on him?
No.
Have you seen? You haven't seen it?
No.
Talk about SoundCloud.
Well, it's on these niche rappers in
Yeah.
Florida, and Louis Theroux being the most awkward human being alive in the studio, and they're all like smoking weed and drinking, and
I think I saw clips of that on TikTok.
yeah, and it was really good actually, but they were making so much money, and I was like, they're making so much money. Like, I've never heard of these artists at all, and they've got like Lamborghinis and stuff. And I thought, okay, let's just see what the streams are like. And it was honestly like 80,000 streams for these artists on Spotify, but everything in the documentary was SoundCloud.
Yeah. Just
So
making all their money there.
yeah, and I think this was before SoundCloud monetization, though. I think.
Okay.
So yeah, it's well worth watching just because it's interesting to see that they build their own audience and stay where they know on SoundCloud,
Yeah.
instead of like trying to make it the usual route. And I always think about that, like the different ways an artist can monetize when you've got your audience. And
Yeah.
like you said, it's EDM and hip hop are the two
Like main genres on the
main
platform.
genres.
Yeah.
Are those the main genres that you work with directly as well? Or is your roster
Yeah.
pretty...
I think
Pretty
the goal is to stay broad, but I think what we're offering is not going to work for every artist. I think the artists that are going to get the most out of what we're offering is those artists, because the biggest tool that we have is we're a platform.
Yeah.
And I think we're the only kind of indie label, major label, distributor, whatever, that actually has a platform that they can offer as part of the services.
Yeah.
And so if that's our biggest tool, then it's not going to work for someone who's
Not wanting to focus on SoundCloud. Yeah.
it has to be like, it's a collaboration
Yeah.
that we're doing. It's a collaborative thing. So unless the artist cares about SoundCloud, it's not really going to work.
So as a A&R, are you doing what a major label A&R would do in a way of like helping them with the album creation and like the artwork and all of that side of things?
Yeah. So we have a in-house marketing team, and they kind of do, we offer marketing budgets as part of the deals, and so part of that would be kind of like artwork creation and asset creation and all that kind of stuff.
Are there any artists out there on SoundCloud where you like say that they are the template of using SoundCloud to its full potential and they have all of their audience on there, even if it's US or UK? Like, which artists are using it?
Well, I think recently, if I think about the tracks that are in like the charts, a lot of them have grown on SoundCloud, and we would describe as like a case study for what we're doing at SoundCloud, and that's Kenya Grace, Casso, Billy Gillies. These are Hannah Lang. Hannah, we actually worked with Hannah. These are all kind of like artists that were on SoundCloud first, that we were aware of over the last year, and have kind of been super engaged into SoundCloud and are now kind of charting and stuff, which is great. And so I think, Kenya, we were talking to Kenya kind of like end of last year, and she kind of like smashed what we would want artists to be doing on SoundCloud. And that was like through, like, she was posting TikTok clips and then the demo on SoundCloud and engaging with fans through SoundCloud. And she's just grown this huge audience on SoundCloud. She's got, I can't remember what it's got, but it's in like over 100k followers on SoundCloud, which is, we would class probably like 6 and above as good. So to have 100,000 followers on SoundCloud is insane. And I think she's really leaned into it. She posts like exclusives on SoundCloud. She does AMAs in SoundCloud comments where she'll like answer questions and do all this kind of the DMing stuff. She's just super engaged, and I think the more engaged you are with SoundCloud as a platform, the more you'll get out of it.
So you said that it was kind of like TikTok side by side. So TikTok is basically the video side of things.
Yeah.
And then she would send the fans to SoundCloud to go listen to
So she'd be like,
full track.
in the caption, like, full demo up on SoundCloud or whatever. So then people are then obviously going to SoundCloud to listen to the full demo. And like sharing, reposting, commenting, and then it will go into our new and hot charts, which is algorithm based. It's based on like exponential growth. And then from there, there's a lot of like all the industries watching the SoundCloud new and hot charts, and that's where the A&Rs are. looking at the new and hot charts to see what's next.
So in that sense, is it like Twitter then, where you follow each other? You follow an account, and then they post tracks that they like, and you post tracks you like, and that's how the momentum gains.
Yeah, so you can repost on SoundCloud, and that contributes as like a piece of data that would go towards like the virality of a track on SoundCloud. The more repost, likes, comments it gets.
So would you say that, because we've spoken a lot about TikTok, which I actually didn't expect in the slightest. I didn't expect there to be like much of a correlation, but it makes sense because it's easier to push people there than if a track goes viral, than having to like fully go through a distribution plan to get it on Spotify.
Yeah.
But would you say that's the best way to get people to the platform?
I think it's just that like it feels like it's a starting point. I think, like you said, like you mentioned about like artists wanting to have something that's like perfect before they're posting it on Spotify. I think you can be a little bit scrappier with SoundCloud, and so I think if you're, a lot of these young artists, they're just kind of like having fun with it, and they don't necessarily want to like pay for mixing and mastering because it's a new artist and they don't necessarily know if they want to take it serious at the moment. It's just kind of like a bit more fun and a bit free, where you can just be like, oh, I made this, I'm going to put it on SoundCloud.
I guess you can be so much more consistent as well.
Yeah.
You could literally post something like once a day.
Yeah.
And the chances of it growing from there will be huge because there's constant content going out.
I think what we see with DJs and that kind of stuff is that you can't just remix Beyonce and put it up on Spotify without Beyonce permission. Whereas on SoundCloud, as long as you're not monetizing it, you can.
Yeah, because you can't even do that on YouTube now.
Yeah.
You used to be able to. You should get hit by a copyright claim, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, you still can do that on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
You can still issue a copyright claim and get it taken down, but
Just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also see a lot of royalty-free music that's being pushed out through YouTube, linking back to SoundCloud, where people can download it.
Yeah.
And I reckon that those people, if they are kind of monetized, just a handful of them, will make tons of money because their follower count would be huge because everyone needs royalty-free music now for YouTube.
Yep.
So there's so many different areas of it that are kind of untouched.
I think it would be a good experiment actually for an artist as well, because you are selling me on this idea of like
You're being the Billboard of SoundCloud right now.
The idea in general of, so you've got Spotify, which is the Discover Weekly algorithm, and then if you upload to that, it's going to push you out. But we know artists have a bad time with that algorithm sometimes. It's just like it does not pick you up, it does not recognize you. So you can either go one way, which is Spotify and push your fans to there. I actually hate it when I get sent a Spotify link personally. It's like you click it. I know Hale can't say this, but
on
you
desktop.
click it. I was actually saying phone's worse because it takes me away from like it. Then I will have been listening to a playlist on my phone, and then I click the link, and it takes me away from the playlist, and then suddenly I'm on this artist's profile because I've been sent it to. Maybe you're like, should we work with this artist or not? And I'm like, I'll have a quick listen of like 30 seconds. I've lost my place in the playlist now, and I can't remember what the playlist
on
is.
desktop, it will take you to it and then be like, do you want to open it in the app? And it's like so many different points. Whereas SoundCloud is also the go-to thing for press. Like, if you want to be sent something and it's easy for an editor to listen, a journalist or whatever, radio, they all want a SoundCloud link. So,
I mean, I think SoundCloud links are like
easiest thing.
top tier in terms of sharing things.
Also, they can like add a description bit.
Yeah.
So there can be like release date, artist name, distributor, label. You have everything in one link.
Yeah.
Rather than having to send a link, then send like a bio and everything with it.
But like also if you're an artist and you make a track and you just want feedback on it, you can send a private link and you can comment on the link.
Yeah.
So if I sent you and I was like, oh, Maddie, what do you think of this? You can write a comment and be like, yeah, this is great. Love the drop it.
Oh yeah, you can like add little bits to be like change the drop, bring the bridge forward.
So for A&R, it's like
that's amazing.
Great tool. To have artists send me music and me directly comment on it.
Yeah.
It's like
going back to what you were saying, I think you're right in a way of like artists kind of have two routes. Obviously, you can combine the both, but you can either take forever to write your track, get it mixed and mastered, spend a lot on it, get it on Spotify, and fingers crossed it gets on an editorial or gets the algorithm push it out. Or you can just continue writing songs and just SoundCloud, and like literally get a track out a week.
And build the audience, I was actually going to say, I wish they'd take away the feature on SoundCloud where, I don't know if it's still there, but do you know when if you got sent a really bad track and then they were like, have you listened to the track yet? And then they could see the logged in
Oh
person.
yeah, they could see who'd listened.
And then
but actually, that's really useful for the artist.
I don't know if that's a thing anymore.
Is it
It
not?
used to be,
Oh,
and I
thanks.
remember,
I don't remember
we'd
seeing
get sent
it.
inquiries, and I'd be logged in, and we don't like go out and decline everyone, but if it's
Yeah.
not for us or we've got too many clients at the moment, we won't take it on. And I'd get messages on Instagram being like, I know you listened to my track. Are we working together? And I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Oh, that's so
I had to log out and be
sneaky.
like, no, I need to like mysteriously like be very smooth with this. And
I don't know. I don't think that's the thing anymore.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you send it to one person and there's like
One
one
stream,
play, then you know that they've listened to it.
yeah,
Oh, good
true.
point, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I also think
Unless,
what I like
yeah.
about it is you can get very small numbers and no one cares.
yeah.
Whereas on Spotify, the streams are shown and everyone hates that less than 1,000 streams thing.
Oh, God, yeah.
Whereas if I get sent a
I hate
SoundCloud link,
it.
I don't look at the numbers. I'm not like, oh, how's this performing? You just listen to it.
Yeah.
Which I think puts less pressure on the artist and also means that as the listener, you're going in without an opinion and you're being less biased with it.
Yeah. I think, you know, I would hate it. I used to work in management before I was at SoundCloud, and I would hate it, like sending a Spotify profile and it says like less than 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that's so hurtful.
It doesn't anymore, does it?
What?
It's just blank.
What? Less
Yeah,
than 1,000?
I think-
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
if you click on it, it says like less
It
than
will show
1,000.
you, yeah.
But
The dagger's still
generally,
there.
it doesn't say anything.
Probably because all of the artists were so hurt by it that they
Yeah,
like begged
true.
Spotify to
Fair
bring
enough.
it down. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But what's the journey of going viral on SoundCloud? What does it look like?
I think so. Like I mentioned, we have these algorithm-based playlists.
Yep.
There's like new and hot updates every day, and then there's like a couple of ones that update weekly, and then the top 50 is generally like it's like all algorithm-based. So if you're gonna go viral on SoundCloud, the first place you'd be going is a genre-based new and hot chart, and then the all genres new and hot chart, and there's like 50 tracks a day that go in there. And that's based on, I think I mentioned before, like exponential growth. So it has to be both new and hot.
Mm-hmm.
So if you kind of want to go hard straight away with sending it to people, getting all the kind of data ticks of like repost, shares, comments, likes, and then making sure that you're engaging straight away, replying to those comments. Then it will go into the genre new and hot chart. Hopefully climb, generally what we see is it climbs for a couple of days and then it's not so new. So it kind of drops out a little bit. But generally that's like doubling streams a day is how that'll grow. And obviously the older it is, it needs to be then doing more than that to grow. But once it's in the new and hot charts, it's not necessarily like that playlist is going to give you loads of streams because the amount of people there's not like a huge amount of people that are looking at those charts, but it's more like for career progression. It's kind of guaranteed that if you're in that new and hot chart, labels will know who you are from that
I was
point.
about to say, when do you guys come in? And
Yeah.
then start to take notice of that artist in this journey.
Yeah, I think the new and hot chart is when it starts to get very competitive. So we're looking for things that are before the new and hot chart generally,
Because then everyone's fighting to sign it.
yeah,
Okay.
because then majors are going to swoop in, and if you're in the new and hot chart and it's doing well, it's a good track, and you're doing good things on socials, then generally if you're in that new and hot chart, you're going to get contacted by A&Rs from major labels. So for me, I want to be looking at early stages before it gets to that point. So I keep an eye on it, but that's not necessarily what I'm using to kind of like find artists. I'm looking at smaller kind of data points than that.
Like socials, is that one of the
Yeah, I
places
do
you
look at
discover
socials.
artists? Yeah.
I do look at socials, but the kind of like structure of what we're trying to do is find things on platform before it reaches that wider audience.
So you're the ones to break it.
Yeah,
Okay.
hopefully that's
That's the plan.
the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're trying to like get things into new and hot charts just as much as like independent artists are. We want it to be in that chart. Again, because that's like a tool that we can then say to other platforms when we're pitching, like, oh my God, it was number 3 in the new and hot charts. Look how good this is, kind of thing. So it gives like another little pitching point.
And there's no editors in SoundCloud, is there? It's all algorithm, all
There is
tastemakers?
editorial playlists.
There is.
And that's
with
all
curators
in-house.
sat there.
Yeah, it's the music team. It's not a huge big editorial team. It's just the big playlists are covered by a few people.
And are they getting the submissions from you guys, but also just what they've discovered or data, how?
It's a combination. So there's an artist relations team and a label relations team, and so labels pitch to SoundCloud for editorial support. So yeah, they'll have it's only recently in the last maybe 10 months has come in-house. It used to be external. Now it's in-house, so the pitching process has changed a little bit. But yeah, he'll have meetings each week with Sony and Warner and whoever, and they'll pitch to the playlist team for support. So that's a combination of music that they like on the team, our submissions, and also label submissions as well.
Cool.
Yeah. It's quite competitive though, because there's only 50 slots.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas with Spotify, you've got there used to be 200 editors. Now there's definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a small team. There are 3 of them covering all the genres.
Yeah. When you say all the genres, is it very SoundCloud genres, or is it literally all the genres?
There is still pop, alternative. I think there's indie. There's a lot of different dance playlists. But yeah, all genres really.
Okay.
I do want to try it now with some artists.
Yeah.
Because we kind of didn't know about what's being talked about.
Yeah.
And all we've been doing is just using it as a place for sending links and uploading a track and sending it quickly. And
I mean, if you look at back in the day when we were more of a traditional PR company, we would use platforms like Submit Hub, and we still tell artists give it a go, because there are ones on there where you can get SoundCloud reposts.
Oh yeah,
which is
reposts exchange. I think. That's
but I think that kind of thing seems a bit dead now, just because if you're charging someone to repost, you're not going to probably be reposting good quality stuff. But I definitely think there's a more of a strategy to it that's definitely worth experimenting with.
There's definitely the SoundCloud strategy, which we're seeing a lot of labels are implementing. I think if the music is the right kind of music, then SoundCloud should 100% be part of the strategy.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different ways that you can break an artist, and an artist can be discovered by other places.
I suppose it's also most likely place where another artist is going to share your music as well with their fans, because
and just get discovered by another artist, which you can then collaborate with.
We see a lot of these subgenres that just go crazy on SoundCloud, and it's from them usually a few, I guess, tastemakers are then discovering these other artists, and they're all just working together, showing their music. We've recently signed someone in the garage scene, and that's they've just created their own little community on SoundCloud, where they all share each other's music, they all help with each other's music and support, and then eventually a few of them will break through and become chart artists, which is great for them.
Yeah.
Any tips for artists on what good things to do on SoundCloud? Any bad habits that you see? Any things where you're why does every artist do that thing? Anything that you could say?
I think SoundCloud exclusives are always great, and I think that's great because you get rewarded by SoundCloud. If you do that, SoundCloud will love an exclusive. Also, it opens you up to more editorial support. It's there's a whole playlist for SoundCloud exclusives, so that you get extra support for that.
Sorry, could you go again? A SoundCloud exclusive is just when you are giving SoundCloud you're only uploading it to SoundCloud. Is that an official thing, or is that just
Yeah. So we see a lot of who was it? Lil Uzi Vert just did a SoundCloud exclusive. Put his EP up for a week, I think, on SoundCloud exclusively. So yeah, independent artists as well. If you put a track up for 24 hours or a week, or generally as on the label side of SoundCloud, if we do a SoundCloud exclusive, we'll put it on SoundCloud for 4 weeks exclusively on SoundCloud. Send all of the fans to there for 4 weeks only. And yeah, if you're obviously not part of SoundCloud roster, then an independent artist, if you put it on SoundCloud for any amount of time, you can then kind of flag that it's a SoundCloud exclusive, and it'll get extra support on
Is
like.
that kind of part of the upload process, is it? It's like flagged as an exclusive.
No, you can't. You'd have to manually flag it to someone at SoundCloud.
I see, I
But
see.
you can just like DM someone at SoundCloud, and if they like it, then
Got it. Yeah.
but there's like a whole slider for SoundCloud exclusives. So if the music team like it and it's exclusive, then they'll put it on the slider, which is extra visibility on the homepage.
Any bad habits is what you see?
Okay, bad habits. Let me
Like-
think about that.
Does the artwork make a difference? Does like responding to comments help with the algorithm? Anything like that? Like,
Yeah, all of that.
Okay,
all
cool.
of that.
Yeah.
I think, SoundCloud is like, there's quite a lot you can do in terms of like branding on SoundCloud. It's like behind the waveforms, you can add imagery. Actually, I've just thought of something that I really, really hate about artists on SoundCloud.
Passionate.
Is when in the bio, there's places that you can add your links to socials. And a lot of artists will just copy and paste their link into the bio rather than utilizing that function.
Okay.
So where it will come up like Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, rather than just inserting your like Instagram / blah, 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 you can just click on, and I think that's just like so much better.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
easy for them to click through.
Yeah. But utilizing all the features that SoundCloud has to offer, like monetization, the bio, the social links, making sure that it's like very much branded to you as an artist. So like banner, profile picture, and also like on the banner, if you're doing it, so like if you have a new song out, you put like new song out now or whatever on the banner image, rather than it just being like a different version of your profile image.
To personalize it
yeah.
to the time.
Yeah, so
okay.
make it very like personalized, keep it fresh, update it regularly. Also, there's a feature called Spotlight, which is like if your track comes to the top of your page, which I think is great. If you have
So
a
sort
new
of like
release,
pin it to the top. Oh, okay, cool.
yeah, like a pin. And yeah, just replying to as many comments as possible.
Do you want
It's a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming on. It was
Thanks
lovely
for
to meet
having
you.
me.
Can they find you on socials or anything? Where's the best place
Yeah.
for people to find you?
Hope Hale on everything.
Hope Hale on Instagram and LinkedIn and all of that.
Yep.
Great.
All of
Okay.
it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
I'd also be interested in the comments of any artists are using SoundCloud in a good way.
Tell
and
your
it's
SoundCloud
benefited.
story.
Yeah, I'd be really interested because I think this podcast showing how little I know about SoundCloud, apart from Louis Theroux. So I'd be interested to hear how
Yeah,
others are
definitely.
using it.
Cool. If you enjoyed, make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next one.